This is part 3 of the video series of academic culture differences, and today we are going to take a closer look at academic writing. First, we have a look at general assumptions about culture-specific thinking styles and intellectual styles, and in the second part we're going to focus on specific issues of academic writing and writing discourse. Cross-cultural difference in writing patterns and thought patterns has become a serious field of inquiry only in the last 30 years, approximately. And there are two opposing positions. So on the one hand, some of the theorists stress the universality of academic discourse, and the other one is postulating the culture specificity of textual and cognitive structures. Galtung suggests 4 metaphors to capture divergences in intellectual style between 4 academic communities. He mentions the Gallic, Nipponic, Saxon, and Teutonic intellectual style. And then he correlates these styles of sociological thought and writing in terms of 4 criteria. So, and these 4 criteria are the academic's ability to analyze paradigms, and to generate hypotheses, or another word for hypothesis is in this case propositions. Then how academics form theories and describe parameters, and then their style of commenting on the work of others. According to Galtung, an intellectual style is a basic culturally bound model of thought and behavior, which is shown mainly by intellectuals. And once more, the features of the different styles are analyzed according to the 4 already mentioned dimensions. Once more, paradigm analysis, generation of hypotheses, theory constructions, and peer review. Let's take a look at the Gallic intellectual style first. So the Gallic intellectual style is seen as being a bit preoccupied with linguistic artistry. Clarity and elegance are as important as theory formation, and the best theory is a theory that shows balance and symmetry. And when criticizing peers, so it does never happen in a direct way. So criticism of peers is normally expressed indirectly. And the typical research question is, peut-on dire cela en bon français? So can you say this in good French? Let's take a closer look at the Saxonic intellectual style, which can be subdivided into a UK style and a US style. The Saxonic intellectual style is characterized by avid organization and collection of data. And normally this is made by a team, so it's often a team effort. And typical of the Saxonic intellectual style is that is very strong on hypothesis generation, but relatively weak on theory formation. And Saxonic academics engage in dialogue with their colleagues and peers, seeking to smooth out divergences of opinion. And there is a general toleration of diversity too. And typical questions posed by the Saxonic when they confronted with a thesis are, how do you operationalize it? So this is the US version. And how do you document it? And that is the UK version. Let's move on and have a look at the Teutonic intellectual style, which focuses on very fundamental issues of theory formation and deductive reasoning, rather than data analysis and inductive thinking. So deductive thinking means that we move from generalizations to specific observations, and inductive thinking means that we move from specific observations to broad generalizations. The Teutonic intellectuals are, let's say, a little less democratic and strongly elitist as well. And generally, it's said that the academic knowledge is passed from masters to apprentices. And the academic debate normally centers on around the weaknesses of other lines of argument. And a very typical research question is, wie können Sie das ableiten? So how can you derive this? The Nipponic style is very fact-orientated and as well very strong on commenting other intellectuals, using paradigms, propositions, and theories. And the style is non-linear, so there are circular thought pattern and argumentation structures, and that style is very strong on descriptions too. And in scientific discussions, it is very important not to hurt hierarchies or social relations. And the Nipponic style is relatively weak on explanations, so theory formations and paradigm analysis. So let's move forward to our second topic today, which is about differences in written discourse. So when we compare different academic cultures and the way researchers and students write academic texts, we can find certain differences. So in the first one is it's about linearity. Do students and researchers write in a linear way, or do they stress on digressivity? Do we focus on the form or the content, or are both as important? There can be big differences in the symmetry of texts. So how is a text built? How is it structured? And then we can also find differences in terms of how abstract the contents of a text is or how concrete it is. So do we use examples, or do we stay on a very abstract level? How is the content structured? And what kind of argumentation do we use? Is data integrated? And do we use advanced organizers? And the last one is important as well. So is a text written so that the writer is responsible? How many explanations do we use? Do we as a writer, think that the reader knows a lot, has a lot of background information. How much do we explain in a text? So how much responsibility do we give to the reader? And here are 3 questions for you. So reflect on the 4 styles I mentioned before. So the Saxonic, Teutonic, Nipponic, and Gallic styles. So which of these 4 styles are you most familiar with? So which one feels best? And the second question is, what may happen when academics with different intellectual styles cooperate? And question number 3, please describe briefly the written discourse you have been taught in school. And if you want, you can use Klein's list that I mentioned before. Thank you very much again for your attention. Have fun. Enjoy. Bye-bye.